Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, where we dive into the world of coding and solve some amazing problems on LeetCode. Today, we're going to tackle a really interesting problem called maximum number of balloons. It's an easy problem, but it requires some clever thinking. So, let's get started and see how we can solve it. So, the problem states that we have a string of characters, and we need to find the maximum number of times we can form the word balloon using those characters. For example, if the input string is loon ball x ball poon, we need to count how many times we can form the word balloon using the characters in that string. Now, let's think about how we can form the word balloon. We need 1b, 1a, 2 ls, 2 os, and 1 n. So, the key insight here is that we need to count the frequency of each character in the input string, and then use those frequencies to calculate how many times we can form the word balloon. Think of it like having a bunch of Legos, and we need to count how many of each type of Lego we have, so we can build the word balloon as many times as possible. Imagine we have a big box of Legos, and each Lego represents a character in the input string. We need to count how many of each type of Lego we have, so we can build the word balloon as many times as possible. We'll use a special tool, called an unordered map, to count the frequency of each character. Then, we'll use those frequencies to calculate how many times we can form the word balloon. Now, let's take a look at the code. We start by defining a class called solution, and a function called max number of balloons. Inside this function, we create an unordered map called freq, which will store the frequency of each character in the input string. We iterate over the input string, and for each character, we increment its count in the freq map. Then, we calculate the maximum number of balloon instances by taking the minimum of the frequencies of b, a, l divided by 2, o divided by 2, and n. We return this minimum value, which represents the maximum number of times we can form the word balloon using the characters in the input string. Now, let's talk about the time and space complexity of this solution. The time complexity is O(n), where n is the length of the input string, because we're iterating over the input string once to count the frequency of each character. The space complexity is O(1), which means the space used does not change with the size of the input string, because we're using a fixed size data structure, the unordered map, to store the frequency of each character. And that's it, guys. That's how we can solve the maximum number of balloons problem on LeetCode. I hope you liked this explanation, and I hope it helped you understand the problem and the solution. If you have any questions or you'd like to share your own approach, please comment below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and comment your approach below.